Hello students, welcome to Year 11 Chemistry and the Introduction to Quantitative Chemistry module. This is video number 6 and we're going to introduce the mole concept. To set the context, really what we're doing is trying to find a way of relating the mass of objects as small as atoms. And that's what we do in chemistry. We want to try and start to get a quantitative read on exactly what we're doing in our chemical reactions. So rather than just mixing things together, we want to be a little bit clearer about exactly what it is that we're mixing and what we're finding in our products. So in order to do this, we need to explore a very important concept in chemistry known as the mole concept. Now, a mole is a number. In exactly the same way that a pair is 2 and a trio is 3, a score is 20, a decade is 10, century would be 100. A mole is just a number, but it's a very convenient number for us in chemistry. In terms of a formal definition, a mole is the quantity of a substance which contains the same number of basic units of that substance as there are atoms in exactly 12 grams of the carbon-12 isotope. And that sounds like a very complicated way of trying to define something, and in fact it is. But the key is that because the mole is a number, we can express that mole as that number, which is 6.02 times 10 to the 23. Now, unlike a score or a decade or a century, this is a huge number. This is a massive number, and it's a number that's very difficult to get your head around. If you sit and write down 602 with another 21 zeros after it, you get a sense of how big this number is, and it's a little bit hard to comprehend. So we can often struggle with this concept of mole, but the key with the mole concept is that what it does is it allows us to use our periodic table to convert the atomic masses in the table into a mass in grams, and that makes them incredibly useful for us when we're calculating quantities in chemical reactions. So the other definition I've got here is that the mole is a quantity of a substance which contains that 6.02 times 10 to the 23 units, which is also known as Avogadro's number. And we'll explore Avogadro and Avogadro's law later on in subsequent videos. So if you have 6.02 times 10 to the 23 anythings, you have a mole of them. Grains of sand, atoms of carbon-12, whatever it may be. If you have that many, you have 1 mole. And that becomes something that's very useful for us in chemistry. The reason it becomes so useful is not because we're ever actually going to sit and try and count out 6.02 times 10 to the 23 grains of sand at the beach. What we are going to do is we're going to use masses and masses in the chemistry laboratory that are of a much comparable nature to the units that we're more commonly used to dealing with. So we're going to measure out a gram, 100 grams, a kilogram, and that makes it much easier for us if we can convert those masses in grams into this unit of mole. So in order to do that, we need a concept known as the molar mass. So when we have 1 mole of a particular substance, then we have then we can convert that value into a molar mass. And conversely, if we know from the periodic table what the molar mass is, then we can make conversions in between mass and moles. So what we need to do is we need a formula mass, and we need to work out what each of the components of that formula weighs in terms of its atomic mass, and then we can convert that into grams, and that gives us our answer. So an example of all of that is when we look at hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas, unlike hydrogen atoms, exists as a diatomic molecule. That means it has 2 atoms, and therefore its formula is H2. So if we're trying to calculate the molar mass of hydrogen gas, what we do is take out our periodic table. We notice that hydrogen has an atomic mass of 1.008, and therefore if we have 2 of them, we need to multiply that number by 2 in order to give us the molar mass of 2.016 grams. This is a very simple example, and I'm obviously going to have a look at a lot more examples both in class and also in compounds in subsequent videos. Thanks for watching.